last session of the day, the presentation of the startups that have been, 21 startups have been pitching in the other building. And before we welcome the startups, we are going to welcome our all-stars panel of judges. And that's why we have so much space now. Let me call on stage Jacques-Antoine Granjon, the founder of Fond Privé, Brent Hoberman of Founders Forum Last Minute, David Hornik of August Capital, Pierre Kosciusko-Morizet of Price Minister, Xavier Niel, that doesn't need any introduction, of Free, Marc Simoncini and Yossi Vardi. Please join me on stage. You have to jump. All right, wow. Okay, do you know where you guys sit? Vous savez vous asseoir? Bonjour Xavier. Ça va et toi? Une petite bise, hein? Tu es là, Pierre?
Non, je suis sur le pouf, là.
Sur le pouf?
Ouais.
Toujours le pouf. Pierre, il a toujours le pouf.
Je suis ici, voilà.
Ah, t'es plus jeune.
Why do I have this little teeny seat? I think it's discriminatory.
Hello, Yossi. Hi, Brent. Now I have to kiss everyone. All right. Yes, we will have Axelle Lemaire as well joining us. This is why I get the whole. This feels natural, right?
Perfect.
So welcome, everybody. It's amazing you are all here for this closing. And I know you are super busy, so thank you so much for this. And maybe we should start with a quick conversation, getting the updates on everybody. Pierre, you want to start? So you left
Rakuten in May.
In May?
Yeah.
So now you're retired?
Yeah, exactly. So I left in May. I got bored in June, and so I decided to start a company in July, and I'm starting in January next month. So, but I don't have an idea yet. So if you have an idea. So I'm actually hiring a team of 15 people to look for an idea, which might be in the internet, but maybe not. So we're going to be quite systematic. It's quite open.
And I hear you're looking for something that has to change the world. You're like looking at something like Elon Musk type.
Yeah, project, I'm being a bit American here. Like when I'm in the US and I say that I want to change the world through my new startup, people say, of course, you know, why make a startup if you don't want to change the world? And when I say that in French, people say, really change the world? Why? But yeah, that's the idea. I mean, basically, you know, I want to do something very global and very big. So yeah, I'll try that.
How do you find an idea that changes the world?
So I thought that if I do like most other people, which is basically, you know, look at something frustrating that happens to you in the daily life, that happens to you, and you think, okay, I could do a company to tackle that. I mean, the chance of getting to something very big is, I think, is very little. So I'm trying to go deep into some verticals, some sectors, and then, you know, study in deep as well technologies and try to match that. So it's sounds a bit theoretical, but I think it's a good way of, you know, finding big things.
And they can reach you if someone has a big thing that you want.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Send an email to Loïc, and he will forward it
to Emmanuel Macron. We got his email earlier.
Yeah, he gave his email, so send an email to Emmanuel. Yeah.
Marc, welcome. Marc Simoncini. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm trying to find an idea to sell to Pierre.
I don't buy ideas.
I was thinking about that because I have few never launched, so maybe we can discuss. So I don't have any thoughts to change the world. I'm too old for that, so I decided to change my life. This is the math. And I decided to stop to invest in startups and in all those businesses and to try to work. In the 3 years, I will stop that, and I will try to work on the art space, which is completely different.
So you stopped investing in startups?
Yeah, I started to invest. I'm getting out all the, so I think we have 55 startups for sale. So I think I will need 3 or 4 years to sell it, and then I will do something else.
Okay.
So next year, maybe I will not be there.
How is it to be such an amazing entrepreneur in France and staying in France?
You know, I started my first company when I was 22 years old. So I'm 52, 30 years. I think that's enough.
Mais tu restes en France?
Yes, of course, I stay in France. Yeah.
Because we had Emmanuel Macron earlier, and we of course talked about
oui, mais surtout avec Emmanuel Macron, tout ça, là, maintenant, il nous aime tellement que je reste en France.
For those of you who don't understand French, he said,
sorry.
Emmanuel Macron loves us so much that now we all have to stay in France. So it looks like that it worked.
No, I was not there. What did he say?
No, yeah, what did Emmanuel say?
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
Yeah?
He was pretty good. Yeah, we had,
He said he loves you and he wants you to stay in France.
Okay, so if it works a little bit on the ESF, we could discuss.
That's for wealth tax. Yeah, I brought it up too. Jacques-Antoine, how are you doing?
Hi, Loïc. Fine.
So what's the news with vente privée? You still do vente privée? You're not retired?
Oh, yes, no. It's, for me, I think it's beginning of the story. Even if it's a 30-year-old story, I didn't have any ideas. I just do the same job since 30 years, which means delivering best service to help the brands to get rid of their inventories. And,
to get rid of the brands?
To get rid of their inventories. That's what we do on vente privée. And it's business as usual. It's not really a startup now anymore. We look always for, I have a simple model, long-term, profitability since the beginning, growth at the rhythm we are able to do it, and being independent, which means we choose our future and we decide what we do because we are totally independent. We never raised any money. So that's what we do. But I want to thank all the young people here who are creating companies and new tools so that they help e-commerce to develop and use their new tools. That's what we do. We like buying small companies that invent new ways of doing catalogs. That's what we do with a Swedish company called Looklet. We bought another company that's doing ticketing in a special way called WizEvent. You heard of it because they won a big prize. We are shareholders of the company since a long time. So we like doing that, understanding who is creating the tools we're going to use to do e-commerce in the future.
And you have, I want to say that I would like to say how incredible you are expanding the brand outside of France.
We are not so good in doing that.
No, but that's why I'm saying it, because I saw some stories, of course, with the US, and I think you try, and that's amazing that you try. And I want to defend you here, because I saw some press, and this is like very unfortunate, when an entrepreneur tries to go to the US from France, and then stops. You just tried. It's amazing, right? And you tried that, and so I think you should be really praised for that.
Thank you. The US was a 4 years venture for vente privée, and I knew it was going to be very difficult, and I didn't know if there was a market for our business because there is so many outlets in the US that the consumer is used to get brands at low price everywhere, and even brands produce products for outlets at a huge level in the US. So brands were very interested in our project of vente privée, but for small amounts, and we did only $50 million of sales, and we were not profitable, and the market is too small for us. But really, why did I do the USA? Because when Ken Cheno, which is the CEO of Amex, a famous CEO of Amex, the first African black CEO who becomes CEO of a WASP company like American Express. He comes and sees you in Saint-Denis, and he says, I want to do the US with you. As entrepreneur, you say what? Go back to Wall Street and I stay in Saint-Denis? No, you say yes. And that's why we do the US. And after 4 years, we tried. And okay, it's sad. We did a lot of mistakes, but the market was not there, and we prefer to concentrate on the growth in Europe.
And entrepreneurship is all about making mistakes every day, right?
We make mistakes every day. The solution is to make less mistakes and good choice.
And never twice the same one.
Never, try not to do the same.
Congrats for trying. Xavier, this morning, I called you to the Minister of France, Emmanuel Macron. I called you the Richard Branson of France.
Thank you.
Which I really think is, and it's amazing what you're doing. I told Emmanuel, you should be, well, all of you here, heroes of the new France. And I visited your college. It's amazing. So what Xavier is doing is training, correct me, 1,000 engineers every year. 24/7, they have access to this school where they can code and talk to each other, and all the way they are trained, I'll ask you that in a second, is totally different. Half of them only have a baccalaureate. Everybody is welcome based on an IQ test. It's just amazing. And what's even more amazing is that Xavier is financing this entirely personally with his own money, just to help that.
There's one student. Yeah, thank you.
And so, why do you do this? It's amazing.
To helping them to find a job. No. So no. It's I like this school, and I'm very happy that you visited it this week. It's amazing. So it's 1,000 students per year, and we are ready to do that for the next 10 years. So it's great.
And I also want to report some more comments that my friends, VCs from Silicon Valley, saw this and said, well, we need this in the US. So that's really amazing. How about Free? Can you just...
Yeah, Free is a small telco company in France. We have about 5 billion revenue. And we are trying to disrupt this, the telco market in France. And we are doing the same thing in Israel. No? You like it in Israel?
I like it very much, but the telco don't like it because you killed all of them. I think you are responsible for thousands of people losing their jobs. But I have to tell you something. The minister which had done the reform with Xavier, I don't know if you know, I'm paying, instead of paying 8,000 shekels a month, I pay now 200 shekels a month because of him. But I'm not paying it to him, I pay it to one of his competitors because we need to keep him honest, you know, not to... Nevertheless, the minister is now running to the parliament, and the polls show that he will get about 8% of the voters. So, Xavier, you can turn your business of destroying telecom into a huge mega political international movement of gaining the support of all the people who are paying too high cellular bills.
Thank you, Yossi.
So we do the same thing in France. No change. More or less.
You do the same as Israel.
Yeah,
that's a short summary. So, but you try to acquire T-Mobile?
Yeah, it's a small local telco company in the US called T-Mobile. Maybe you knew it, and we tried to buy it.
That's one I use.
Yeah,
it works.
It's small. We tried to buy it for $42 billion US, but they thought that it wasn't enough. So next time.
What do you think, Marc?
No, I was thinking maybe we could help him to buy it because if he needs 2-3 billion more, we could maybe make.
Okay, David, how is it going?
In general, it's crazy. No, it's going. I have to say the.
Okay, I'm sorry, David. I'm told that the minister is waiting behind the curtain, but we'll get back to you.
How's it going? You know what? I'm excited to hear the minister.
But we'll get back to you. But yes. I'm told that I should welcome Axelle Lemaire that just arrived. So welcome. Bienvenue. Je vous en prie. Bienvenue, Axelle. Let's get back to David. We'll get to the minister in a second.
I feel like there's nothing I can say really with the minister. All I will say is that it's sort of an amazing time, the most vibrant time in the economy that I've seen since the late 90s. The initial internet bubble, when there was an incredible amount of money and energy and enthusiasm in Silicon Valley for changing the way that everything is done, and it feels like we're back to that right now. And that's exciting. It's exciting to have people ready to reimagine everything that we're doing. This idea of changing the world is really what we try and fund, and I think that we're doing it at lots of levels. So that's exciting.
Do we have a bubble? $40 billion for a private company like Uber? Is there a bubble, David?
Well, look, it depends on what you think is a bubble, right? What happened in the late 90s is that the public markets had this big bubble. So all of these investors, the grandmothers in the United States, were investing in companies that there was no clear path to them being real businesses. And when they all sort of thought to themselves, wait a second, this may be crazy, then the whole thing fell apart. Right now, we don't have that at all. What we have is very sophisticated investors who are saying, gee, something like Uber is changing the way that we all travel. And if it continues to do what it's been doing, it's going to easily be worth more than $40 billion.
They said it also in '98.
No, but in 1998, there was no revenue attached to it. It was, and it's making $0 million, you know, and now it's making billions
also in
of dollars.
2014.
So this is, you know, it's inflation from $0 billion to $2 billion. So I don't think that it's the same kind of bubble. I think that what we're seeing is a lot of important change and value creation, and I think that and I see it here in France, and I see it across Europe, that there are businesses that are being built. All of your businesses make real money. This is not about creating a fiction. This is about creating great businesses that produce money.
Thank you, David.
Are you raising a new fund? It sounds like a good talk, a good pitch for new fund.
What? Funny you should ask, Yossi. Yes, I am raising a new fund.
I rest my case.
Brent, can I ask you, could you do me a favor as a friend? Can you just make sure that Yossi doesn't have a microphone too often? So grab the microphone from Yossi. Take that. Thank you, Brent. Brent Hoberman, serial entrepreneur, doesn't need much introduction from the UK. How do you? How is it going in the UK? Is there a crazy startup scene there? How do you see it? And how are your businesses going?
No, I mean, I think the UK definitely. I mean, it was good to see France do La French Tech, and I think lots of inspiration from what the UK did with Tech City. I think Tech City, which is a broader branding program for the UK, has worked. I mean, the UK is incredibly vibrant at the moment. Right across London and in some of the other markets. And I mean, fintech, obviously, ad tech are various areas where London is starting to do really well, and fashion as well. So London's exciting. I think the next step maybe is that what we should go back to thinking about is how can European countries work together more. The famous single digital market. Let's make it happen. And I think that's where the UK and France could really do something together. I'm looking forward to the Anglo-Franco colloque in January, and hopefully that'll be a conversation that we'll take up more there. But otherwise, for me personally, Made.com is a great example of a cooperation between UK and France. We have another investor, Marc Simoncini, in Made.com. And I chair that one, and that was a business that spoke at LeWeb', I know, so thank you, earlier this week, and is doing very well disrupting the furniture market right across Europe.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yossi, you spoke too much already. Oh, please.
I waive my speaking right as a humanitarian case.
And your speaking fee? All right. I'm sure we'll hear about Yossi very soon. Axelle, welcome.
Thank you.
Merci de nous rejoindre. We will listen to startups in a minute, but would you like to give us a highlight of what you're doing, your initiatives, La French Tech?
Yes, of course. I love to talk about La French Tech, in case you didn't notice. What we're going to hear now is something that I'm trying to implement in the government. So with the Jeu Digital now, every month there's a minister in the French government receiving in the ministry startups to hear them pitch in front of investors, in front of private accounts, big firms, but also in front of the people who get to choose what the public procurements are going to be. And I think it's good because it means that the culture of startup is infusing in the administration and in the whole economic scene. And it's not only the ecosystem made of startups, but it's how to use their capacity to innovate and to disrupt and make sure it brings advantages to the whole economic sector. So that's what we're doing. La French Tech, I gave 9 labels to 9 different ecosystems throughout the country. I underestimated, before I entered government, the vitality of the French ecosystem. What I saw, what I'm still seeing every day is puzzling. It's amazingly vibrant. Young people extremely motivated, creating their companies, willing to embrace the international markets. And what is interesting is that it's everywhere in France. So, of course, Paris is you know, the biggest center and attracts investors, and it has to. and thanks to future giant incubator, I'm sure Paris will become even more attractive at the international level. But what is good is that there are local ecosystems that we're putting together in a national network so that everyone belongs to the same French tech. So we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot.
That sounds great. I heard, please correct me if it's wrong, but I heard you made 2 statements yesterday that have been, so we have a screen here that shows us what are the tweets the most popular around the web. And there is one from you, or tweets about you, that even though you have not come and give us a talk yet. So one is that France doesn't have anything to envy about Silicon Valley. Did you say that?
I know what you're referring to.
I heard 2 things. Let me give them to you now. I heard we don't have to look at Silicon Valley as a model. I heard that. Correct me again. That's what I heard. And tweets sometimes go. And actually, as a social model. I think you said that. Here you go. As a social model. And you also made another comment about Silicon Valley, which is that France didn't have lessons to take from Silicon Valley. Is that true? Correct me.
I think you're actually referring to the same comment.
Okay, great. What was the comment? You have a chance here.
So if I understood correctly, but I was, in meetings with the president yesterday, just looking at the Twitter, and my Twitter account and seeing all these comments, I was like, what are they talking about?
Yes.
And I realized that it comes from an interview that I gave on Monday, and the subject was about the launch of a new fund by the state and by the Public Investment Bank that will aim to provide funding for private investors who are willing to come to France and invest in accelerators. So I was announcing that and explaining how the system is going to work. I think it's great because it means that we're doing part of the job of selecting the places that are serious enough and legitimate enough to be of interest to investors. And then we're backing investors as the Public Investment Bank to ensure that their private investments is safe. So I was explaining the whole mechanism.
Okay,
and then I was asked, I don't know how it came in the conversation.
Well, tell us what you think.
I just had a meeting with American investors, and I was trying to explain what we were doing in France and that we're doing so much, for example, in terms of broadband, high-speed broadband, that will give us an extreme competitive advantage in a few years' time, because France is going to be one of the best covered, connected country in the world. We were talking about all this, and then one young investor told me, well, why are you doing all this? Because the Silicon Valley is the center of the world. And in any case, we will ask as investors, startups, to come and move to the valley.
Oh, you mean investors will ask for startups anyway to move out?
We'll buy them, basically, or if we want to invest, then we'll just... And I said, well... I didn't like the tone of the conversation.
But many people say that. It's a valid comment we hear. I'm not saying they're right, but hear that.
I was born abroad. I'm just back from England. I spent 15 years there. I love that country. I've learned many, many things from what I've seen in the countries where I've lived. And I think it's it's almost genetic to compare what's going on in other countries and try to get inspired by the best practices that I can observe abroad. And of course, the Silicon Valley is first the historic basin for the birth of the internet. And it is that genius place where you will find creators together with entrepreneurs and with the money, and put together that creates the most fantastic ecosystem in the world. And I'm the first one to say that. But then, as a person in politics trying to ensure that I have to create growth and jobs in my own country, when you know, I do a lot to try to attract foreign investors, explaining that it could possibly be worth starting to look at what's going on outside of the valley. That's, you know, it's what's the beauty of the digital economy, I think, is that there's no center anymore. You know, it's not London. I wish it was.
You think there is no center? Silicon Valley is not the center of a world of technology?
I think it's moving very, very fast, and it is at the moment. It is at the moment, but it can happen in anywhere. Look at China. I mean, China in a few years' time is going to be big thing for the US, and there are other markets booming. You know, Africa in a few years' time with the mobile economy is going to boost as well.
So you're announcing the center of the world of technology won't be Silicon Valley in a few years.
No, it's not that. Are you a journalist or what? No, what I'm saying is that it's good to open your eyes and look at what's happening in other places in the world. So that's what I was trying to express. And then, of course, you know how the media are and how journalists are. So an interview that was supposed to be about the creation of that fund ended up in that big title. But then the idea, so when it comes to ecosystem innovation, of course the Silicon Valley is, you know, the #1 place in the world. When it comes to the social model, so I'm answering your initial question, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And I belong to a government that has an agenda of social equality. And, you know, just because
Why not? Why not? Can you explain why not? Just briefly, then we get the startups.
Why not?
Why Silicon Valley is not a social model? Just asking more.
Because from the figures I've read and the reports that have been published, it is one of the places in the United States where there are the biggest social inequalities. And what I wish as a person, you know, in charge of public responsibilities is that the wealth created by the ecosystem, which again is fantastic, is, you know, will benefit to all. That's what I call a social agenda. And I think what is at stake is, of course, trying to help startups, trying to help ecosystems, but it's also for the whole economy, and especially the traditional industries, to make their own digital revolution. And I think startups can help in that process. And it's a market for them. So what I'm trying to say is, have a look at what's going outside of the valley, of what's going on. And there's, because, you know, when I
What would you change? What would you change in Silicon Valley? I'm just not a journalist. I actually live there, but I'm French. I'm proud to be French. Yeah. So I get the differences a little bit. What would you change in Silicon Valley to make it more of a social model?
But again, it's not up to me to tell you know, them what to do. What I'm trying to explain is what we want to do in France. But I don't want to, and so what I said exactly in French is, je ne veux pas recevoir, ou je n'ai pas de leçons à recevoir, because I don't feel I can, you know, I can tell people what to do. All I can do is trying to explain what I would like to see in my own country. But what I can do certainly is get inspired, but by what I see, which I consider to be good. And again, and I think the innovation culture, the open innovation culture, the culture of taking risk, and which we don't have still enough in France and in Europe, the facility to find money, and that ecosystem of investors working together with universities, with research centers, with startups and big groups and private companies trusting startups to work together. That's what I call a working ecosystem, and that's where the Silicon Valley is fantastic at doing. That was my point. I
didn't mean to. I just wanted an opportunity for you to express what you actually meant, and just that you know, because you're busy, so you probably did not see that. But I had Emmanuel Macron this morning who asked me, "Can you help?" And I said, "Sure, I'll help." So I'm happy to help, and I'm very proud to be French. So any way I can help, I will help. So thank you, Axelle. We'll get the startups on stage. So and we can chit chat a bit as well, but we have a lot of time.